Okay, good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, July 10th. I'm John Weigell here with Katherine Laidlaw, and you're listening to the Hustle Daily Show. The Gen Z and Millennial workforces are feeling anxious about taking PTO lately. According to a new survey from Babbel, younger generations are taking so-called quiet vacations where they manage to work a bit on the go because they're too nervous to ask for actual PTO vacations, and they're intimidated by the, quote, loud vacation anxiety that comes with real time off. So why is this all the case, and is it a cause for concern in the modern workplace? We'll get to that in a bit, but first let's give you the hits and headlines today in business and tech. To start us off, a driverless Apollo Go car operated by Baidu struck a pedestrian in China. In the car's defense, though, the pedestrian, who had no external injuries, thankfully, was crossing the street during a green light. Next, Spotify will start letting listeners leave comments on podcasts. Creators can approve the comments they want to appear and can limit comments to specific episodes or opt out entirely. Fully expect the comments to just roll in after this episode. Over to Etsy. Etsy is cracking down on AI-generated products with new, quote, creativity standards that require sellers to label whether or not there was human involvement in making a product, which, I mean, human involvement is the first thing when I think of Etsy, so very strange. Over to the alcohol, or I guess non-alcoholic industry, Athletic Brewing, which owns 19% of the non-alcoholic beer market share right now, raised $50 million as demand for booze alternatives surges upward. So, Katherine, I know you're not a big drinker yourself. Have you partaken?
I have partaken, and actually that is an excellent joke because here in Canada, Partake Brewing is one of the
No way.
extremely popular non-alcoholic options. Yeah, but this news is so exciting. I feel like it's never been a better time to be a sober person, and I'm not evangelizing for it. More so just excited to have more options when I go out to the bar.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That really helps. We were talking about like the Sober Curious movement on the podcast recently about like how Gen Zs and Millennials are becoming a little less interested in drinking alcohol on a night out. So the fact that stuff like this has become available is great, but also the business they're doing because of this, they must be jumping through hoops over there at Athletic because they're just doubling their operations. So, I mean, good for them. And it means that a lot more brands can probably get into this space too.
They're crushing it. We're crushing it. Beer cans are getting crushed. Everyone is happy.
Everybody is crushing. All right. And finally, McDonald's rebranded Happy Meals to The Meal in the UK for its Mental Health Awareness Week. I, for one, would like an emotional support double quarter pounder most days right about now. What do you think about this rebrand, Katherine, from the Happy Meal to The Meal?
I mean, I might be the only one who thinks this, but doesn't The Meal sound a little bit ominous?
It does sound a bit like dubious, right? Like The Meal.
Yeah. The meal. I don't know. I almost feel like the abstraction sends the opposite message. But I heartily agree with you that I would like an emotional support double quarter pounder every day.
I would take that with me on flights rather than a dog, honestly, if I could.
And just pack it in my little bag.
Yeah, a little bag.
Carry on emotional support quarter pounder.
Oh, no. It's just for emergencies. I'm not going to eat
it. It's just so I feel good knowing it's there.
On to the big story today. Today's big topics are quiet and loud vacationing. You've likely done both before yourself, especially in a remote job setting, but Gen Zs and Millennials are taking more of that quiet bonus PTO, seemingly because they have a real anxiety about taking actual vacations for various reasons. So, Katherine, first of all, how would you describe quiet versus loud vacationing? At least loud vacationing is a pretty new term for me.
Yeah. So my understanding is that loud vacationing is when you're on vacation and you're being loud about it. You're posting on Instagram, you're sharing what you're up to with your friends and sort of your wider networks. And quiet vacationing, which has become sort of a more popular term, at least over the last few months from what I've seen, maybe the Gen Zers, the youths have been using it for longer, means taking time off work without officially taking time off work. Right. So when you're loud vacationing, you're filing for official paid time off. And when you're quiet vacationing, you are logging in to Zoom from Machu Picchu. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like this has been a trend for a while, but it always seems to come up with, the Christmas to New Year's break or not break, and the July 4th as of recently of people just kind of extending the time of their PTO where, they're not actually out of office, but maybe they're going to be out of office, so they're on the way out. Completely understand about quiet PTO and how it makes sense, I guess. But this survey that came out from Babbel talked to about 1,000 travelers from the US about how they navigate their vacations and put in the time off at work. And some very interesting results kind of stem from that, it looks like.
Yeah. So I was fascinated by these results. Apparently, a staggering 69% of Gen Z travelers have canceled or changed their travel plans because of anxiety or a lack of preparedness. Part of the reason younger employees have ultimately decided that they're not prepared to go on vacation might have to do with spontaneous bookings. The survey found about 40% of Gen Z travelers end up finalizing their plans within a week of taking a trip. So if you don't speak the language of the destination city, that's obviously going to be a challenge. A lack of finances saved because of not having done advanced planning was also attributed to that. And then I also found this so interesting and a little bit ominous as well. 72% of Gen Zs reported having experienced relationship breakdowns due to vacation tensions, whether that had to do with getting lost or missing a flight, another kind of reservation issue, or getting in trouble with authorities in a foreign country. Guys, that is not quiet vacationing.
That is not good. Yeah, I mean, it seems like millennials and Gen Zs are trying to do more quiet PTO and are quite good at that, it looks like. But from the looks of it, it seems objectively that they're not very good at, quote, loud vacationing or just scheduling your PTO outright with your boss and then going to actually take that vacation time or booking vacations very, very frequently. And that sounds like a problem. It sounds like it's a bit wishy-washy and a bit flipped from what you'd think.
Yeah. If you're thinking about sort of the general state of things today, issues with the housing market, the lagging economy, layoffs, I think there's a lot of pressure to stay on top of work all the time, but especially while you're on a trip. And that was one of the main reasons that people cited for going on sort of quiet vacations, as it were. They're stressed about money. They want to make sure they're staying on top of their job, but they also want to make sure that they're being perceived as staying on top of their job. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I found really interesting about the survey results was for younger employees, one of the most acute anxiety generators around planning vacations was social media, which, we've known for years now that social media influences us in all kinds of ways. But I don't know, I found the numbers to be crazy. 41% of Gen Zs and 49% of millennials said that it was important to create social media content while on vacation. I don't find that restful. I don't know if you find that restful.
That is, I think, the opposite of restful, actually.
Yeah. It's I don't go on vacation to be mediocre content creator.
My photos aren't going to be as good as anybody else's. It's unfortunate.
No.
Yeah. That's such a fascinating component about all of this is that it seems like Gen Zs and millennials are putting a lot of pressures on going on actual vacations. So maybe going on quiet vacations is a lot easier, weirdly enough. And having that kind of anchor of work seems to be easier than just letting go for some reason. I personally don't understand it. I think when I'm on vacation, don't bother me. But it seems like work and vacation are starting to go more together.
Yeah, and it makes me feel sad that people feel this pressure to sort of present this perfectly manicured idea of what their fantastic getaway was to not just their friends and family, which I feel those pressures have sort of existed for a little bit longer, but also to their supervisors and coworkers. I don't know. I want restful vacations for everyone. I feel like that's the healthiest way forward, right? Research shows us that we need vacations. We need a restful break to be as productive as we can be. And so I don't know. These results bummed me out. I was like, guys, you can take a trip. You can do it.
You can have a vacation.
It's in your benefit.
Use the PTO. It's there.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Yeah. And I do sort of wonder what effect that's ultimately going to have on our work.
Yeah.
Because if you're sort of taking snippets of vacation rather than one long break, and you're not telling everyone about it, or you're only telling some people and not other people, and I just wonder what the long-term impact of that will be.
Yeah. And the thing that I also noticed on here was a very interesting sentiment about the need to represent your vacation to people on social media that you are going on vacation, but the need to also misrepresent your vacation to coworkers and other employees and managers because you don't want to blow out the idea that you're doing all this stuff. So it's a very weird dichotomy that you have to manage, I guess, nowadays if you want your vacation to be a big social media blowout.
It's strange. I have a friend who is a millennial and posts about her vacations, but not while they're happening. Weeks later, she'll do these curated vacation posts. And I asked once why, and she said, well, I don't want my clients to know where I am at any given time, for insurance purposes. Oh. And I was confused about that, but apparently something related to her home insurance, like if something happened to her home and they could prove that she was away, and then she wouldn't get the same coverage. And then 3, she wanted, of course, to be able to sort of scout through all of the footage that she had taken and edit appropriately and sort of present like this pristine view of what this trip was like. And I thought, you have 2 toddlers. Like no one thinks that any of your travel is pristine. Like you're already dealing with so many pressures in that life circumstance. Right. And to add that expectation on yourself, it just seems like a lot. It seems counter to what vacation is supposed to be.
Exactly. And I think that's the whole point here, is that vacation is supposed to be vacation from life or responsibilities. So I hope that this could turn around sometime soon. But I can tell you right now, I'm going to be going on vacation in late September, October, and I ain't going to be doing nothing.
This is inspiring me to go on vacation tomorrow.
As it should.
Don't tell anyone.
All right, that's going to do it for us today, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go sign up at thehustle.co/email, and we'll see you tomorrow.